Picture the album being like the listener is dead, and they're stuck in this purgatory state, which I always imagine would be like being stuck in traffic, waiting to reach the light at the end of the tunnel. And while you're stuck in traffic, they got a radio station playing in the car, with the radio host guiding you to the light and helping you transition to the other side. So it could feel celebratory, could feel bleak, however you want to make it feel, but that's what the dawn is for me. This is what The Weeknd had to say about the concept of his new album, Dawn FM, in an interview with Billboard back in November. We finally got to hear the full picture of what he meant a week ago today. In that week, I've listened to it almost every day to solidify my opinions of it. While there's no doubting the cinematic power and the beauty in the production of Dawn FM, in order for me to give my review, we must discuss the pros and cons of a concept album and how it applies. Before diving in any further, we should define exactly what I'm talking about. Oxford defines a concept album as an album featuring a cycle of songs expressing a particular theme or idea. This could be anything from similar musical tones or moods, reoccurring lyrical themes, or the telling of a story. Not a rule by any means, they will also often have transitional pieces in between songs to keep the listener engaged as one song ends and the next begins. I think most musicians dream of making a concept album at some point in their career. With that, I think The Weeknd chose a great time to take a swing at one. He's acquired one of the biggest followings in current music, so whether or not the album was received as well as his previous albums, it would do well enough to justify the risk. Now personally, I enjoy a good chunk of concept albums. Innocence and Instinct by Red is one of my favorite albums, though I'll admit it's less of one than a lot of others. So let's start with the strengths of a concept album. Obviously, the biggest upside of a concept album is the ability for the writer to tell a story that they want to tell. While we want the bands and artists we like to write the music that will make us happy, it's just as important, if not more so, that the writer enjoys writing it. The other big up is keeping the listener's attention for longer. In a day and age where people don't buy records much anymore, you could argue that concept albums should be left in the past. However, now that streaming is as important as it is, getting a listener to listen to the full album as opposed to just the singles that get radio play can help a lot. On the other side of that same coin, though, people don't have the attention spans that they used to. Looking at streaming numbers and people freaking out over songs that are more than a couple minutes long is evidence of this. That's why such things as Vine and TikTok have blown up the way they have. Shorter content is the future. So why not just listen to the songs you like instead of listening to the album all the way through? There's no harm in just adding a few of the songs to playlists and enjoying them when they come on, right? Actually, I don't agree that this works in the case of a lot of concept albums. Because of the transitions that are at the beginning and ends of songs, it makes listening to a song by itself kind of awkward. Among many other things, that's a problem that I've had with the last two Starset records and Adele's new record. But now that we've gone over the general pros and cons of a concept album, what of these apply to Dawn FM, and how much does it affect what I think about it? The fact of the matter is that pop music isn't the best place for concept albums. The average pop music listener just wants to hear 2 to 4 singles that are 2 to 3 minutes long on the radio and move on to the next thing. Maybe a more positive take could be that maybe it takes an artist like The Weeknd to push pop out of this rut, but we're not quite done. Now, a pop album that bordered on the concept album side of things that came out last year that I thought very highly of was Spaceman by Nick Jonas. If you want to see my track-by-track review I did of that, you can click on the link on the screen now. What was different about that album, though, was that even though it had transitions and seemed to tell a story, it didn't stray far from a more traditional album. The songs were a normal length, there weren't minute-long intros and outros, there weren't any narration tracks. If you listened to it on shuffle or just heard a song in a playlist or on the radio, it wouldn't feel like something was missing. If I had to say Dawn FM had a weakness, this would be it. The songs are longer than most of his fan base is willing to sit through. It takes a long time for the songs to begin and end. The narration tracks only make sense in the context of listening to the full album from beginning to end. Probably worst of all, a good chunk of the songs sound like something is missing if you only listen to one by itself. Something equally problematic is the limited use of instrument and synth patches, while making it a cohesive piece of art, makes a lot of the songs sound very similar. In The Weeknd's defense, though, his twist on 80s nostalgia also creates a feeling of familiarity that also works against him. Okay, now let's get to the good stuff. Dawn FM's greatest weakness is also debatably its greatest strength. The beautifully executed transitions from track to track and the narrations blend symbiotically, with the moody synth pop to create one hell of a mood. Imagine this album playing while you're driving at night in the rain. Imagine the serenity that would wash over your soul. And with that, The Weeknd's vision was executed successfully, and he has crafted an immersive soundscape that leads to a fun 50 minutes of listening. That's a funny word for it, fun. Yes, an album about traveling towards the afterlife is fun. I'd venture to say it's more fun than his previous release, After Hours. The pursuit of creating the story and mood put him and his team in a position to just loosen up, have fun, and do whatever they wanted. The album is definitely best enjoyed from beginning to end. Most of the songs do still sound too similar to each other, or like something is missing when listening to it by itself. However, there are exceptions. My friend Sean, who did the Spaceman review with me, did a review of Dawn FM over on his channel that you can see the link to now. I agree with most of what he had to say about what the strongest tracks on the album were. Gasoline, Sacrifice, and Out of Time are probably my top songs on the album. Yes, just in the sense of them being good songs, but they're easier to listen to outside of the context of the rest of the album. We'll have to wait and see how the general public reacts to the album, but I think The Weeknd's hardcore fan base and people who just like good mood setters will really enjoy Dawn FM. Truly a fun way to start 2022. What do you think about Dawn FM? Do you have a favorite song off of it? Do you agree or disagree with my assessment of the relationship between pop music and concept albums? Let me know in the comments below. Do me a favor and share this video with a friend who didn't like the album or hasn't given it a chance yet. Maybe this will help give them a different perspective. Make sure to subscribe for more music-related content on Fridays and Magic the Gathering-related videos on Mondays.